iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz. The best or nothing.
Welcome to another episode of Growin' Up Broadway, the world's first podcast for theater makers who are young or young at heart.
Today's show features the team behind the musical Title of Show, Hunter Bell, Susan Blackwell, and Jeff Bowen.
So help me, Sondheim.
So help me, Sondheim.
Growing up, yeah, we're growing up, yeah, we're growing up Broadway.
Welcome to Growin' Up Broadway. I'm your co-host, Timothy Allen McDonald.
I am your other co-host, S.J. Arniger.
So, S.J., how's your week going?
Well, first, I'm going to make a promise. I'm going to try and keep this promise this week that I will not cry in this podcast today. For 3 weeks in a row, I've cried, so we're going to try not to cry today.
Yeah, we've had 3 tearies in a row. I mean, not that, some of them are tears of joy, of course, but that, which is the perfect lead-in, actually, Covenant House, which was the episode we did last week. I mean, that was touching.
The whole entire show started, and I'm a mess on my couch just bawling. And it wasn't the performers. It were the personal testimonies from the kids associated with Covenant House. I was a mess. And then the kids that are part of the Broadway Inspirational Voices performing, they did 2 songs. Just the whole thing was magical. I'm so excited that we were a part of it. We got to live stream the event with a bunch of other partners. So it was a wonderful 90-minute program. You can keep watching. Covenant House keeps releasing clips of the show. You can catch it on YouTube and their website, but you can also still donate to the Covenant House at covenanthouse.org.
It was truly beautiful and remarkable, and so moving to hear from all of the kids from all over the world who have been helped by Covenant House. Really cool. Also, I got to see the Prince, our new Prince, in Between the Lines. I kind of was like, we cast him like the Wednesday before everything got shut down. So he came on the screen and I was like, who is that? I mean, no offense to him at all, but I was like, oh, yeah, okay.
So I was texting Jody and I was like, is Between the Lines performing? And she was like, and then I texted you and you didn't get back to me. And they're like, yeah, right now. And I was like, oh, that's the new Prince. He's very dreamy. I will say that.
He's dreamy and has a good voice. So,
yeah.
That's what we want in our princes. Dreamy with a good voice.
One would hope.
We have not talked about the fact that you interviewed Dame Elaine Page. What was that like?
Last week, right before we actually did the podcast, I had found out that they were interested in doing an interview with me specifically for iHeartRadio Broadway, and I was like, what? So, we did a Zoom chat last week. She was in her London townhouse in her library, and she's lovely. And for those that don't know, I'm a former performer, grew up doing musical theater, and then switched over to opera, and then she was an idol of mine growing up. Like, I would listen to cast albums with Elaine Page, and to be able to interview her, the musical theater nerd that I am, I was like, what is happening? So it was great. It was a 15-20-minute interview, and we talked about everything from Cats that was being live streamed that night for The Shows Must Go On. We talked about her doing Evita. I mean, we talked about her cat. You name it, we talked about in 20 minutes. So it was awesome.
That's so cool when you get to meet your idols and they're not jerks.
She was so lovely, and she wished me well, and I was like, thanks, you too. Like, I totally turned into a nerd at the end, and I called my mom after, and I was like, sure, this just happened.
That's so cool. Hey, what's on tap for Saturday's matinee?
So this Saturday, it is the Disney celebration. We are doing Aladdin, Lion King, and Frozen. You're going to hear from Patty Murin, Ryan McCartan, Ainsley. You're going to hear from a bunch of people that have been attached to a Disney show. I would say it's probably going to be a 90-minute program, all the best songs that we all love from those 3 shows. So it's a full-on Disney on Broadway celebration this Saturday, 2 p.m. on iHeartRadio Broadway.
I will be listening. I also realize, like, I need to reach out to Ryan and be like, just send him my condolences on the show closing.
I feel so badly for them. We had been planning this for so long, and we had all this stuff done for Frozen, and then the announcement happened, and we kind of all scrambled to figure out what to do for the Saturday matinee. But they got 3 performances, which, God bless. I mean, I could not imagine being in that situation.
No, all that work, all those rehearsals, for 3 performances. But hey, they did 3 performances. It's better than, I would think that was more gratifying than like being in rehearsal. I think about those shows who were like 2 weeks into rehearsal or 3.
Or just about to open, like 6.
Oh,
I can't. So anyway, what's on tap for this Friday for JT Fridays?
JT Friday, we're going to feature some of the performers from Flat Stanley, which is going to be exciting. And I can't announce who is going to be, sort of the big guest, or because we haven't decided yet. Hey, it's Wednesday. We got plenty of time.
That's vague.
Well, I know it's just not confirmed, so I don't want to announce it and then be like, oh, never mind, it's this person.
Also, you guys announced this whole Zoomsicle professional development session. How has that been going?
Okay, this has been so remarkable. So Marty Johnson and the team at iTheatrics put together a professional development session for educators and directors and people who are theater makers on how to do a Zoomsicle, what you need to know, and the settings. It was 2 days, 2 hours each for 2 days. Last weekend we had 97 people sign up for it. And it was completely sold out because we have the account that you can only have 100 people on. But then we had so much demand for another session that we upped our Zoom limit to 500, and we already have 137 people who have signed up to do this session with us.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really great. And if anyone is interested, you can contact Lindsay at Lindsay, Lindsay, at itheatrics.com. They're coming up next Tuesday and Wednesday. And I can say honestly, we won't be doing another one for some time because we start our summer online programming on June 1st. So if you want to know how to do it and get in there and learn some stuff and have some fun, here's your opportunity. Come join us. It was really cool. I took it as a participant, and it was fun.
I will say I've been talking to Marty about it offline because, texting and whatever, and he's really excited about it. He has been really gung-ho about the professional development sessions and what people can learn, because this is obviously the next wave of what we're going to be doing when it comes to creating art for the time being.
Yes, and it's not, we're not going backwards, we're going forward. And honestly, I've really been thinking about all of these platforms and this time is research and development, because the positive side of this is that we can reach kids who would not have access to the arts in rural areas, or also kids who are underserved because of economics and other things. So we're embracing it at iTheatrics, and we're going to figure out how we make this a normal part of our company and our mission.
Which is great. It's so great. Congrats to you guys, because you ran with it as fast as humanly possible, and you got it up and running, and what you guys are doing is really, really great.
Thank you. It is, I have a great team. I really do.
And also make sure to check out JT Fridays this Friday, 4 p.m., iTheatrics Facebook page and YouTube channel.
That's right.
Or whoever the vague lineup will be for this Friday.
It may be me, Tim's solo tap dance.
I mean, I'm free. I'll come back. I'll be a guest.
Let's do it.
Should we get to our guests?
Let's do it. I'm so excited.
So please welcome to the video podcast the team behind the musical Title of Show and Other Wonderful Things, Hunter Bell, Susan Blackwell, and Jeff Bowen.
Yay.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us.
So first question, where are you all sequestering right now, and how are you guys doing?
We're sequestering. This is Hunter Bell, Susan Blackwell.
She took in this little orphan Annie.
And my street address is JK. We're sequestering at my house.
Yeah, I was, Jeff and I were in production for a new musical called Otherworld. We were doing with our collaborator Ann McNamee at Bucks County Playhouse. We got through tech. We did one run, and then like everyone else, it's on intermission. We're intermission hiatus, he says optimistically. And we disbanded, and I made it upstate to Susie's. So I'm grateful. Thanks, Susan.
You're welcome.
I'm in my apartment in Brooklyn, New York, enjoying a beautiful day.
It is really pretty here today. I will say that.
It is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's cooler than I remember it being for this time of year. Is it my imagination?
Well, it was winter last week, so
It snowed up here, literally.
Pumpkin patch weather today.
There you go, Elsa. Give them some snow in May.
Again, there are no rules in quarantine these days, so.
Pandemic weather rules.
Where are you all?
I'm in Astoria. I'm by myself. My lamps and I have quite the lovely dinner conversation every night. So we're here and, doing well.
And I'm in Washington Heights. So right here in the city.
Yeah. And how are you? How is it there?
It's weird. The city's weird. I started jogging during the pandemic in an act of desperation. Susan, I don't think we've met, or if we have, but I am not a runner. And if you saw the rest of the body that's below this, it would make sense to you.
You're a runner now.
I am. It's been like 8 weeks. But what's sad is that when you see people on the street, everyone ducks their eyes down. They don't want to make eye contact, like you're going to catch it by looking at them. And, everyone's masked and all that. It's just, I'm concerned that this social distancing is going to be something that is going to separate us more. So I smile and I wave at people now.
I do too. When I'm at the store or something like that, because I'm aware only my eyes can be seen, I say good morning and I smile so that it makes my eyes smile too. Just so, it says, I don't know. I agree with you, Tim. I'm pushing the connection, whether people want it or not.
Same. Hey, so I want to give a shout out to the Educational Theater Foundation, because SJ, Hunter, and I are all on that board. And Hunter and SJ, you guys were thespians. We didn't have a troupe where I grew up in rural Northern California. And Susan and Jeff, I don't know, were you guys thespians?
We did not have thespians. I grew up in rural Ohio, and we got a musical together once a year, but we didn't have thespians. But recently, I was hosting
the Broadway Back to School benefit.
Broadway Back to School benefit in the past few years, and there were 2 performances that night. And at the first performance, I acknowledged that my school didn't have thespians, and I thought that we were inferior because we didn't have thespians, and that it was the most amazing exclusive thing. And at the second show, they made me a member of a thespian troupe, and I burst into hot tears.
I remember that night.
Carson Bell High's troupe in Claremont High.
Yeah.
So
that was like one of the first.
That was the first year.
Was it the first year?
Year one.
We used to do
fancy, and then Tim, you came on board, and it got fancier and fancier, and we moved out of the basement into the big ballroom.
That was back in the day when we had the early show and the late show.
That's right. Then we combined them because everybody wants to go home and watch Netflix at the end of the day. But I'm so proud of the affiliation with Educational Theater Foundation. I mean, I'm preaching to you guys, to the choir, but also all the viewers too, of just, especially now, we're going to have to get ducks in a row and figure out how to keep students engaged. And I think the arts and theater are going to be the way, for all that healing, frankly, for the healing. And I'm so inspired, Tim, by what you are doing, and how you're looking ahead and using the technology and saying, okay, there's a mourning process, we're not going to gather in the space in this way, but we're still makers and creators, and we can still tell stories. And I love seeing you on the forefront of that. And on those days when I'm like, wah, wah, I'm lifted up by you and Sarah Jane and makers and doers right now. Because I know from experience with this project we'll talk about, you don't want to get up every day and get going, but we inspire each other in that inspiration circle. So, and thank you for paving the way with innovation.
And I think with that, we're so used to every June, the last week, we're so used to being in Lincoln, Nebraska, what would have been now Bloomington, Indiana, for the International Thespian Festival. And we're not doing it this year. We're not going to be in person, but we're moving it to the virtual
ITF. It's true. That's another innovation too. I'm so proud of everyone at the Educational Theater Association and International Thespian Society and the Foundation for looking at the space. There's so much loss in very big ways. And then in different ways, but still equally feeling lost of, like, I lost my spring musical. I don't get to go to graduation. I don't get to do my play with my friends. And the schools that were chosen for, festival, we can't be together, but they're putting together a heck of a program. And I've hear wind, and I'm helping plan. I know Tim, you are, and SJ, you are, and Sarah and Susan and Jeff and I are going to be there as well in spirit with a lot of great friends. And I'm like you, Tim, of like, how do we use this time to figure out how to make things even better, make things more accessible, create things that last a little longer than they might, like an ice sculpture show, that are there for other kids and reach these students that might not be able to have flown to that place. We get to be in your living room, and you get to have an amazing experience this summer. I'm excited.
Hey, Hunter and SJ, give a shout out to your troupe.
My troupe, I was Woodward Academy, and I was also a state student officer. So shout out to Georgia Thespians. I was all in. I loved it so much. My state conference, my school took a show to main stage, and that's when it was in Muncie, Indiana, for the OG, old school thespians. I was not in that production, but I was proud to be a thespian, and I still am. We're still all thespians. JB,
my troupe was, 3764 Pinellas County Center for the Arts in St. Petersburg, Florida. Yep.
You remember the number? I always ask this question. I got to remember the number too.
I probably just made it up, to be perfectly honest with you.
I believe you.
You sounded confident.
I went for it.
Strong and wrong, as they say.
I think it's close though. But yeah, Pinellas County Center for the Arts, we took pride in being a part of districts, and then state thespian festival. Never got to go to International Thespian Festival as a student, but making up for it as an adult with the week that we get to spend together. So I'm very proud of my thespian alumni roots.
JB, were you thespian? You are a thespian, but were you inducted?
I was president of Troop 2519 at Norfolk Myers High School in Florida.
Another Florida boy.
Wow, today's show is brought to you by the Educational Theater Association.
Absolutely. It was my people though. It's like everybody watching here too. When I started auditioning for things and I walked into that theater and the choir and doing the spring musical, those were my people. And that's why I'm happy to be a maker and create opportunities, because I don't want them to lose a chance to have their spring musical, fall musical, summer musical, winter musical.
Well, it's what I always say about the Junior Theater Festival with iTheatrics, is that the students that get to go to those things, they find their tribe. So they find the people that they're going to be attached with for most likely the rest of their lives, or find some sort of connection with the thespians. Even if they're not going to go on to be actors or creators, but find a way to maintain what they learn as a thespian in their regular day-to-day. you find your tribe that week or that month that you're able to do stuff with the thespians or the Junior Theater Festival.
I agree. I'll add, I think you find yourself, not to be too woo-woo, but you find yourself, and you find skill sets, like you say, confidence, empathy, collaboration that you take into the world. So it's true. You may or may not make a career specifically in the theater, but the skill sets you learn by being a part of your show when you're a young person make you better artists, make you better human being, better citizen, all the above. That's
Absolutely.
what I think.
You're right. Absolutely. And also, you guys are all, you put your money where your mouth is because there was a production of one of your shows in Florida where they couldn't do the performance, and you guys pivoted and worked with them. The musical is Now Hear This.
California. They're in California.
Okay.
The other Sunshine State.
Yes. I don't know why I confused that. I was convinced it was Florida. Okay.
Well, there's these two Florida thespians, so you were in the crowd, you were playing to the crowd.
That's it. So tell us about how that came to be.
So I'm going to say a little over a year ago, Jeff and Hunter and I wanted to go back into the script of this original musical we had made with Heidi Blickenstaff, Michael Buress, and Larry Pressgrove. And we wanted to, originally it was set on 4 performers and
At the
Vineyard Theater. And we wanted to go back in and make it as flexible, as expansive, and as inclusive as possible. So it was a real puzzle because we also wanted to make it in terms of flexibility so that you could do the whole show if you wanted to at your theater or your school. And then if you wanted to take a 50-minute cutting of it to a theater festival or something like that, there were really clear instructions. So it sort of made it gamified and a little bit modular, but really clear instructions about how you could go about doing that. So we've been working on it for over a year, and we were getting ready to test it out at the Orange County School of the Arts in California. It's a wonderful art school, and they have an amazing musical theater program. And it was to be directed by Scott Barnhart and Peter Marinaro. Scott, you might remember from Book of Mormon on Broadway. Mm-hmm. And we were so excited. We were going to go out. We were going to rehearse with the students. We were going to do all sorts of classes and talkbacks and professional development for their staff. And then the pandemic hit, everything got shut down. And I went ahead and I did those master classes with the students via Zoom. And they did a read through of the show for me. They sang a cappella. As you know from your Zoomsicles experience, two people can't sing at the same time. Yet, but they would choose a singer who would carry that particular piece of music. And as they were doing it, this group of students is so talented, and they were so well cast by the directors and the musical director, Christopher Smith, that this thing was rising up in my heart as they were reading this for me. And by the end, and they captured it on video. There's a great video of me very haltingly saying, what if you considered doing this virtually? What would this look like if it was a series of music videos? And I was halting because I hadn't asked permission from the school administration or from the directors, or
ask for forgiveness, not permission.
But I was so moved by what they made, and I share with all of you the desire to. I don't want to wait a year or two until we're allowed to gather again. I want to keep creating, keep making, keep innovating now with all the tools we have at our disposal. And so I just asked them, what would you think if we kept working on this in a small way? And just maybe try a piece, and I just saw these sort of like blank Zoom eyes staring back at me. But in fairness, once they wrapped their minds around it, that creative leadership of Scott Barnhart, Peter Marinaro, Christopher Smith, they started with one piece, which became 2 songs, and then those 2 numbers became 4 numbers. And by the time they were done, they had fully staged and shot and lit and costumed and location scouted the entire musical, all from separated quarantine. And it was really, it's extraordinary. And since then, I've had a chance to talk to the students and their families and the school administration to really understand what that was like for them. And I think it gave them, like Hunter was saying, it was the difference between we lost everything. We lost prom, we lost graduation ceremonies, we lost the spring musical, we lost senior night, like we lost it all. This actually became something they didn't have to lose or grieve. They got to completely experience it, cross the finish line. They got to do it in many cases with their families. So little brothers appear in it, and sometimes parents are holding the camera. And so they got to have this collective experience where they celebrated each other, they celebrated their graduating seniors, and they got to present their musical in an even larger forum than they would have if they had done it one weekend at their high school. People whose families live overseas, who have never seen them perform, got to watch along with everybody else. So it gave them something to rush to the Zoom conference to rehearse. It gave them something to be completely engaged in. And I really think it gave that community something, and us too, something to get up for and work on and be proud of. So that was a long answer to your very short question, but it was, I feel like life, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I feel like it was really life affirming and life changing in a time when things are so chaotic and so uncertain. It gave a bunch of us a sense of purpose and creative self-expression. And it was, I'll tell you, I just speaking for myself, it changed my experience of this very, very challenging time.
And I'll acknowledge it shows what's possible too. I also acknowledge, there is privilege involved of that those students had the devices and the iPhones and the iPads and computers to do it. So I hope as we all continue to make and grow, we keep examining those inequities and get kids devices if they need them, and get corporate partners so that they can make their musicals at home. But it was absolutely delightful. And the Saturn rings that added, so the show wasn't canceled, it went on. And then I would see the students, the docent students and the design students did logos, and then they did, Instagram.
They were like a social media street team.
Then they did a golden carpet for the students and interviewed the cast. So it kept going, and
moms, there was a mom who was she's a marketing professional, and she helped consult the students on how best to do their social media and do their marketing. So
the skill sets too, you go from I want to sing and dance on stage to, I guess I'm an on-camera actor. Oh, I guess I'm a director of photography.
Yeah.
I'm a costume designer.
Yeah.
I'm a lighting designer. I'm an editor. I'm a sound editor. The skill sets.
The amount of confidence that those students developed.
Gained and grew.
And it expanded past just the musical theater department in their school. For instance, 2 ninth graders, this makes me want to burst into tears. 2 ninth graders completely animated one of the numbers. It's called Golden Palace. And they did this gorgeous animation, a full length, that piece is like 7 minutes long. And they did this beautiful animation that partnership couldn't have happened. And that expression of that piece would have, I'm sure, been very beautiful and powerful on stage. But with their level of creative contribution, it was just glorious. It was just glorious.
I have made a promise not to cry in this episode, so.
We did it. We're going to get you.
No, it can't be a 4th week in a row of me bursting out into full-on crocodile tears on this podcast.
It's not over yet. Okay.
So for those that don't know, now hear this. How would you describe this musical, and what's it about, basically, for those that don't know?
Jeffy, we've been talking a lot. You want to take this?
Sure. It's basically, I'll say it was written and based on our lives, but at a time, looking back at youth. So it's sort of the middle school years, the high school years, some things before it, looked at from an adult perspective. And it's the things in our life that have to do with just kind of growing up, the growing pains of finding yourself. And as we know, theater people are, as you were saying earlier, talking about going to like thespians and finding your tribe. Musical is very much about that. It's very much about finding like-minded people and putting yourself out there and expressing your vulnerabilities, your sense of comedy to see if it matches with other people. And when someone laughs at your joke, you're like, oh, you get me. I like you. We're gonna have to set something up. It's sort of the how those kind of relationships and how friendships sort of evolve and grow. And that's sort of the origin of the show. But it's all done with song and dance. There's some heart. There's some hysterically fun. There are some things in the show that consistently have made me laugh every time I've ever heard them. And having been inside of it in so many different ways, that's rewarding. And tear jerky. I mean, I've cried at the same thing has got me every time. That's sort of the overall gist of Now Hear This, which is on my mug that I'm drinking water.
But the cool thing about is the way it's structured and the way it lends itself. I can't wait to learn more. I know a little bit about Zoomsicles and I want to learn more because I think, again, what Hunter was saying, I'm so inspired by that innovation and that sort of like, what are we going to sit around for 2 years? No, let's keep making and creating and doing. But the thing that really lent itself, the way Now Hear This is structured, is it's sort of like these, it's like number, song, story. So it could easily transfer to a virtual platform as opposed to, I don't think it's impossible, like to do My Fair Lady to do it virtually. I don't think it's impossible.
We're staging it right after we get this call with these people.
Once we're done with you.
Cast list is going up. I'll email it.
But the material really lent itself to being broken into sort of bite-sized pieces that a group of students could tackle together. With
kind of a lead character in each pod that could support that, supported by ensemble. So I agree, you could film it at home or have your mom film it.
Yeah.
I've struck too about like how so many of the students said, I not only learned things, but I had a different kind of skill sets, but artistically and as actors and human beings, things I kept recording over and over in my room just forced me to kind of like let go and get out of my head and get out of my emotions, and was a safer place.
To see themselves perform for the first time
yeah.
and have to assess it and have to, and in many cases it built their confidence because they were like, oh, I see what everybody's been saying when they say, you were born to do this, you really light it up. And they're like, I do light it up, which I loved.
I also love that families too, they're like, this is something that my family goes and sees the show, and watches, and then we all go out to have a meal afterwards. But they were part of the making of it. Yeah. So the parents have this new appreciation for the time, the energy, the passion that all of these students had in the making, and they have a different investment in it too. So there were so many lessons learned with this again, that are more than what the experience of it doesn't replace it. It's just different, but it's not less than. It's not less than. And in some cases, it's more than.
Yeah. And I think the wonderful thing from this conversation is I always preach that we all have students that are in musical theater, but are not going to go on to be professional performers. But if you're giving them a skill set, yes, like marketing, sound design, even administrative work, and that's what it seems that is happening with this show is people are finding other skill sets from being able to put on a virtual show, which is something that I have been, Hunter knows this very well. Yeah. I have been preaching that for the last 10 years.
They had about 10, 15 student docents who created videos on how-to videos for other students to do it. I'm assistant choreographer. Let's learn the choreography to this number. So all kind of like those, I think of, like the DVD extras and all of those things that came out of this that are cataloged that asked a student who might not be cast in the show, but is equally as important in the construction of the show. So again, that's what I love, all of these different skill sets that are coming out.
One of my favorite from all my experiences, which are pretty much entirely virtually with these students, but we have come to know each other to a certain extent, was there. I think she's a freshman. Her name's Caroline, and she was sort of an assistant director. And the way that she showed up even in Zoom conferences, the way that she just was so excited and so available for it. And, you know, she wasn't playing the lead in any of these numbers, but I love this. I love this student. She was just so amazing and so engaged. So,
and the creativity of finding ways, like student talk about the art students got involved, you know, like what can we bring to this experience?
And I also want to say this, not for nothing, but what they put together, which is 90 minutes long, which is just amazing, is fantastic. I feel like we've said we were moved by it and there were things that we found remarkable about it, but it is
it's a great version of the show. It's
great.
Incredible.
They did a great job. It's blows my mind.
And
what
shout
they
out to the
accomplished.
editors too, that all, I mean, like that's the other thing. But what I love too, like all of you guys, you're just saying yes. And that mantra that Scott said to the students, let's not let perfect be the enemy of good. The journey is the destination. All of those bumper stickers, but are really true of, again, I always think about my love in Indiana Jones, where he takes that step and there's no step there and the step appears. This is what we all have to do. And this is such a success story, I think, of on the other side. Those kids were terrified, they were confused, they were frustrated. Some were dealing with being in, split marriages and homes. Like, do I film on this? How do I get my stuff uploaded? There was all kinds of questions, curiosities, and fears. And Scott and those teachers said, we hear you, that's all valid. Let's keep going. Let's do the best we can with what we have. And so I hope people listening are inspired by it, because I think it can be intimidating when I call it, you see us on the red carpet, when like somebody had to lay the carpet down, somebody had to call somebody to rent the carpet. Like, so I hope seeing this and talking about this inspires you, but know, like, it was a beautiful, chaotic mess with giant question marks everywhere. And your job is to just keep showing up and trying your best. And then you put it piece bird by bird. And
should also acknowledge, I mean, I'd like to acknowledge also the thing that's so bizarre about all of this is 2 months ago, this was against the law to do. So, and so the licensing houses were catching up to, we've all been trained our whole lives, live theater, no video, don't film anything. Everything's the thing that makes theater great is it's live and it's in person. And we're like, we're going to be on pause. We always thought that the digital will go away someday and we'll always have live theater. And ironically, we're living in just the opposite of that right now. And so it was great that the licensing houses were like, well, I guess we got to figure this out, because theater people have to keep growing. Theater people have to keep falling in love with their art and their self-expression. How do we keep maintaining that? So it was great that Concord, who reps both Title Show and Now You're This, as well as a lot of other shows, were like, well, let's just get this going, because this could be the new norm for at least a while. So we were very, very fortunate to have them on board with this, Susan, I think Susan, you mentioned earlier about sort of just like, what if this went live? Just like, I'm going to say this out loud, but
I'm going to say this little dream out loud.
Because, and also YouTube's got bots that pull down any song that has a recorded, that's been licensed or has copyright on it. So I don't know what's going on at Google, if they're turning those things off right now, or, so anyway, acknowledging that it's a new thing to be, as you said, these kids putting themselves on tape and they're filming themselves doing musical theater, which they probably have never really done. I don't think I really ever did it. We always joke that if I had a camera in 8th grade, I probably would I would have put up the most humiliating thing in the world. And no, I won't say
True
that.
Or false, Jeff? True or false? Did you sing "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina" at a thespian conference?
I did. I did.
No further questions, Your Honor. No further questions.
I did. Anyway, so just it's an interesting world that we're all of a sudden thrown in this like.
It is. I wonder. I don't know if you all know. You can tell me, but I haven't. I would love to know, listener, viewer, if you know, you tell me. Has there been another full-length musical that has completely been shot and put together in quarantine, high school or otherwise?
I think you guys are the first. because I've been following this, because we did the Zoomsicle, which is a different thing. And I really do think what you guys did is the first. Well, I'm just going to say, yes, you guys are the first.
You heard it here, Tim.
Exclusive.
You heard it out of your own mouth.
And it better not be the last.
I'm so proud of them. Like,
too.
I'm so, I should just stop repeating myself, but I'm so proud that a group of the children will lead the way, like that they, because if they hadn't, Scott and Peter, the co-directors, went to them in earnest and said, are you into this? Because if they weren't, and many of them were so heartbroken by the way the school year kind of ended and things got shut down, that I can imagine a world where they would have been like, you know what, hard pass. Like we're sad and we don't want to, but to their credit, they gave it a swing and then kept taking those steps. I'm so proud of what they accomplished. It's really, and they'll always have that. They will always, when I talked to them, I was like, when you look back at when you tell your grandchildren about your pandemic experience, and you will tell your grandchildren, God willing, that we all remain healthy, like you'll be able to say, "Whoa, I had like 2 tough days, and then I rose up and we did our musical and we were the first." I think I'm so proud of them.
And baked banana bread on top of it. So
I baked a lot of banana bread.
A lot of banana bread.
Bread and Musicals is Sarah Jane's new book.
That's my new book. That's my quarantine autobiography. Zoomsicles and banana bread.
We also, I'll add too, I hope we're getting close looking for a platform that can be shown a little longer, too. And also I'll mention too that for the powers of good, in lieu of ticket sales that you would have gone and bought, at the folding table in front of the auditorium, we did requested donations for Educational Theater Foundation, for OSHA, the Orange County Schools Foundation, to raise money for the school itself, and for a nonprofit by Heidi Blickenstaff, her umbrella nonprofit Broadway Because was Gen Z Stay Home. So again, it was just trying to encouraging younger people to stay home and keep their families safe.
And make musicals while you're home.
And make musicals. But so again, it's just another opportunity of like, okay, how do we make sure that the theater department doesn't go under? Let's innovate, let's sell a ticket, let's have a bake sale, let's bake more banana bread. And but I'm like Susan, it's just put a smile on my face, and the inspiration keeps going. I get inspired by Tim, and see that we keep innovating. And I want teachers and these theater students to have hope. I want them to have hope and not think that there's not going to be something to do this summer and when we get back to school this fall.
Amen.
However, if we get back to school like this too, and not to be afraid to try things. And
in case teachers are still, there's a lot to navigate, and there's growth. One of the things that Scott Barnhart, one of the co-directors, said is he wasn't an editor before. He's an editor now. Like his brain had to grow, and they had to expand their concept of their talents, and they had to expand real skill sets. But it's worth it, because I've talked to a lot of teachers. I teach a lot of teachers, and when you're not onto something and when you can't figure out how to engage those students, it is despair making. It is really hard when you reach out to 100 students and 3 email back and they begrudgingly show up to Zoom class. But I want to say again that these students were running to get to online rehearsals and really engaged in the making of this, and very empowered by, I gathered the props, I put this costume together, I made my baby brother do this part in it. And so I just want to say there's great possibility, and it is a learning curve. It's a learning curve for all of us, but it's also fun and ultimately super satisfying, especially when you keep in mind Grant Grace, progress before perfection, and it's just a musical. It's just a musical.
So before we move on to our musical theater quiz, how can people find out how to put this show on virtually?
if you go to Concord Theatrical's website, there is tons of information there.
We call it Now Hear This Flexible Version.
That's right.
So if you search Now Hear This Flexible Version, I didn't mean to interrupt. I like
No.
just the title, and it's ready to go for you now. It's ready to go. So get to cracking.
Have fun.
Do this show. We love you to do this show, obviously, but do any show and take a risk for it if, and figure out a way.
Perfect.
Have fun.
Super big kudos to you guys for saying yes, because
Likewise. And to you.
And to you.
people are saying no right now. And
Right now they are.
because it's easier to say no. It's less scary. And so I'm inspired by my colleagues like you guys who are saying, yes, let's do it. We'll figure it out. It's okay. It's okay. So we need more of you in the canoe to paddle to get this thing to wherever our end of this part is going to be. There's, the entire California State University system is going online, which is my alma mater. And, there's 23 schools with 23 theater programs. What are they going to do? So
Now hear this flexible version. What? Who said that?
no. Hey, Matt, if you're listening, I got a show for you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to jump.
What is possible? Asking what's possible. Not
What's
just
this quiz? What's this quiz I keep hearing about?
Do the quiz. So this is what we do each week. We ask our guests to take this musical theater theme quiz. So SJ and I are going to ask you just a bunch of questions.
This is my buzzer.
Give us the first thing that pops into your mind, and you might win a brand new Mercedes Matchbox car.
Or you might not.
Not.
But
All
you
right.
might.
That language was carefully crafted.
All right. On your mark, get set.
Wait, time out. Is this like me against them? Is it trivia? No.
It's just whatever pops in your head first.
Okay.
Oh, do you like how we all went into like game show mode and we wanted to make it competitive? I still may ring my buzzer in. You guys don't have to.
Hunter, you do you.
You do.
You.
Thank you, SJ.
You're welcome.
Ah,
All right.
Here we
Tim.
go. What's your favorite musical of all time?
The Golden Apple.
She Loves Me.
Uh,
What is She Loves Me?
So if we all yell at the same time, no one hears anything, right? So we
All
should.
right, so we'll
do
go
that.
back again.
How do you do it? I'm confused. I didn't hear what you said.
Jeff, you go first.
The Golden Apple.
Susan.
Sweeney Todd.
Hunter.
She Loves Me.
Funniest or most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you live on stage? Jeff.
I've entered the stage doing a children's theater production of The Emperor's New Clothes, and I came on stage without my hat with just a wig cap, and the whole cast was laughing at me, and I was like, I want to be in on the joke that they're laughing at, and it was me on stage with a ball cap.
Susan.
You were the bald cap.
This is actually in Now Hear This. I wet myself on stage. I was laughing so hard. For trying to keep it together with Church of Giggles for so long, and just like keeping the lid on for so long, my bowels released and I fully wet my pants.
I can't follow that. How do I follow?
Great. You win. You win for any guest so far. Hunter.
I was in a production of The Boys from Syracuse, and I was had Peggy Sawyered my way from ensemble to one of the Dromios. And they lost an actor, and it fully was Peggy Sawyer. Like, you'll learn it in a day, you'll go on the next night. And Julian Marsh was giving me breaks and sandwiches, and TMI, I sweat a lot. As we say in Title's show, I talk about my left hip sweats more than the right. And I'm like, I have a great idea. Get ready. I'll put a sock underneath there and a rubber band around it to like absorb. I guess I don't go to the dresser and say, hey, can you help me? Can you alter it? I was like, I got this, everybody. So I put this, do you know this story, Jeff and Susan?
How do I not know this story?
Oh, this is a surprise.
Did you cut off the circulation?
What?
No, I put the sock there, and I was like, got it. I won't be as sweaty. Fully go on, like maybe I don't know if it's that night I go on and make the debut, which is just like a blur, doing the big tap dancing number, with, I think the amazing Adrian Bailey was in it. He was one of the Antipholi, tap dancing. The sock had gone through my shirt and my pants, and a sock came out the bottom of my pants. And I think the ensemble was like, where'd that come from? We'll leave it at that. I wanted to stop and be like, it was in my armpit, you guys, it was in my armpit. So let that be a lesson to y'all. Probably just depend on the kindness of the wardrobe, or just let them see a sweat. I know that they say never let them see a sweat. Let them see a sweat.
If you could play any role, regardless of gender, which would you choose?
Ava Perón. Duh.
That one, Susan?
I always like playing. As I age, I'm so lazy. I like playing myself. So I'll play myself in title of show or Now Hear This.
I thought you were going to say Madame Armfeld. So
Or Madame
You didn't have to
Armfeld.
stand ever. Or
Whose Life Is It Anyway? Where I'm just in a hospital bed, unmoving for the full length of the play.
That's a play. It's musical theater. Musicals.
It's the musical of Whose Life Is It Anyway? It's called Whose Life?
I have. You know what? I like to be Millie in Thoroughly Modern Millie. I think that'd be so fun. Take that, Sutton. See you on the ice.
Who do you want to be when you grow up?
Myself.
Myself or Sutton Foster. But yeah, myself.
Jeff?
Yeah, me. I'm having fun being me.
Which musical best reflects your mood today?
Obviously, Hair, I think, is I'm feeling Hair today. I might go put that on, actually.
I am in a Now Hear This, not just because in a promotion way, but trying to stay present in this nutty, bizarre time, and the roller coaster and the ups and downs, being present. So Now Hear This, like, I'm having so much joy being with you guys for the last hour. I forgot the world can be upside down, and the power of this connection, which is connected to the show of being present. So I'm going to go with NHT.
I second that emotion. Yeah.
If you could see any musical live in a theater right now, which would you choose?
I'll go. It's fantastical. It doesn't have to be like Running. This is hypothetical.
Anything.
I want to see Bernadette Peters in song and dance live.
Yes. I second.
I'm torn. I would either want to go see that original production of Dreamgirls, or I would like to see that original production of Sweeney Todd live. I wore that VHS out. It was on Great Performances, and I would stretch the tape out. And I think it would have been so exciting when he comes into the audience and is like basically threatening the audience. Oh my God, I think it would have been extraordinary to see that.
Jeff?
I would say I would time travel to the mid-'60s and go see like How Now Dow Jones or something obscure that no one really even saw then.
What are your answers, Tim and SJ?
Oh, geez. No one's turned that on me. You know what? I would go see the original production of Merrily We Roll Along.
Yeah.
I'd have to get there in like one of 11 performances or something, but.
Cool.
Two.
SJ?
I have two. I would probably want to go see the original production of Once on This Island.
Oh, beautiful.
Or my favorite musical of all time is Secret Garden, and I love that original production, so I think I'd want to go watch that again.
I saw it.
Me too. It is my favorite musical of all time, so I'd probably go see that again.
Dreamy Rebecca Luker, Dreamy Howard McGillan, and on and on and on.
So good.
Last question. Sondheim, Weber, or Mencken?
Oh.
Sondheim.
This is a hot take because it's a little bit Sophie's choice. All God's children got wings. But if I'm really honest with myself, of like deep in and I close out, Weber.
Can I say Jerry Bach?
I thought you were going to say Jerry Herman. Also Jerry Herman, too. Jerry Herman on the voice side.
I'm going to say Jerry Bach. I like all those people, too, though. I like everything. That's hard. Those are
Jeff Bowen. Also Jeff Bowen.
Jeff wins for me.
But the countless hours with a giant Walkman, just like, like an unexpected, like, I mean, just like Cats, we're my 80s kids, Starlight, Evita, like, come on.
I think a good question to your guardian angel when you get to the pearly gates is probably like, hey, you've been watching me my whole life. Which have I clocked more hours listening to, Andrew Lloyd Webber or Stephen Sondheim? Because they'll know the answer. I don't know that I could answer it.
I love this question
Or Jerry
so
Buck.
much. This might be one of the greatest questions ever. I'm going on record. So we were the first now hear this full-length musical. This is the greatest question ever been asked in any kind of context. Hands down.
I'm glad we could help with that.
Well, congratulations.
You go. You take it.
You have won an IOU for a brand new Mercedes Matchbox car. We'll be shipping these out, post-pandemic. So, stay tuned, 2020 something.
I'll be waiting.
If 2023 rolls around and that car has not hit my mailbox.
Just peeking
Tim,
out the
so
window,
help me.
just like, did it come yet? No. Just a Dear Diary.
I will also say before we let you go, you guys are hosting the Vineyard Gala, correct?
Thank you for the plug. Yes, May 30th. The Vineyards campaign for right now raised money to keep them going, keep the initiatives going, pay the staff. And we are hosting the Title of Show, Vineyard Theater Virtual Variety Show with a cavalcade of guest stars. It's going to be lit, as the kids say. So if you go on, you can still donate $25 or more. Price point, get your ticket to see all the fun. It's good. We're making it right now, and it's going to be good. We're
excited.
super proud and excited. And this is going to be a starry night.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us today virtually for our video podcast, this crazy thing we're trying to do. So
It is
thank you guys
a
so much.
joy. And thank you for everything you're doing and all of your growth mindset and all of your innovation. And it's very inspiring.
The world needs us, but they need you, Tim and SJ, to keep lifting us up and bringing music and song and stories. I'm telling you, like, I know it feels like a lot, I'm sure, because we're in the same boat of like being makers. But by goodness, golly gosh, it is worth it, because on those days was hard, and there are hard days for all of us, creating songs and seeing the makers and my Broadway friends and my Broadway strangers I don't know, but whose voices I love. It's literally music to my ears. So keep on keeping on. Thank you.
Do not make me cry.
Cry, 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 cry.
Roll the clip of the puppy and roll a clip of SJ through the years. Do we have that clip?
Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it.
We adore you guys. Thanks for.
Thank you.
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.
I haven't laughed that hard in a long time.
Oh God. Am I muted? No, I'm not muted. I love them so much. They are genius people and some of the most creative people on the face of the planet.
I completely agree. And I did watch. There's a 4-minute sort of teaser of Now Hear This with a high school that I did watch, and it is really well done.
Yeah. They should be very, very proud of all the work that those kids did for that show. Parents, teachers, students, siblings, whoever else, just so good.
So good. Yes.
So that's today's episode of Grown Up Broadway. I'm your co-host, S.J. Arniger.
And I'm your other co-host, Timothy Allen McDonald.
Make sure to tune into JT Friday this Friday at 4 p.m. We will see you next week for Growing Up Broadway.
Yes. So go out there and make the world a better place, one musical at a time.
May the Schwartz be with you.
And also with you.
Growing up, growing up, growing up, Broadway, growing up, Broadway.
iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz. The best or nothing.